This is going to be a video showing you how to solo farm the Palindrome, the new Strike Specific loot. So we have Shadow Price, Palindrome, Swarm. Shadow Price was last week, Palindrome is this week, Swarm will be next week. So I'm going to be showing you how to easily solo farm it on Legend difficulty, on a Titan, and to get the boss done every time with a new boss exploit, I'll call it. For those that just want to see this, then skip to time on the screen. The rest of you can show you what my mods were, etc. So as I said, it's going to be how to show you to easily farm it. So doing it in less than 20 minutes, and most people will be able to do it in this sort of time. I'll show you what the mods were, etc. Now, so we have solo damage and incoming airborne damage is increased. Match games on, equipment locked, champions anti-barrier, unstoppable, and pestilence. Scions spawn void grenades at their feet when killed, which you don't really need to know that. So we, as I said, we're on a Titan, Core of the Missile, Pulse Grenade, Tower and Barricade. We paired that with the new exotic chest plate, which drastically increases Thundercrash impact damage. So it's basically like Celestial Nighthawk for Titans, but it's even more than that actually, because when people have tested this and Chaos Reach are the two highest damage supers in the game. Dawn Blade's up there as well with the Dawn Chorus, but I'm not getting into that debate. I'm just saying that I'm using this chestplate. You don't have to use the chestplate. If you don't have the chestplate, you can go Sunbreaker, you can go Sentinel. This strat will work with anything. It's more about matching the weapons. Match your weapons, use what super you want, whatever's good to you. For the weapons, we're using the new exotic scout rifle, Dead Man's Tail, a Void hand cannon which is from Prophecy, an Ikelos Void hand cannon, and a solar rocket launcher called Duello. It's very important that you match Void and Solar for this run. If you don't, you're going to struggle. Okay? Definitely want it tied to a weapon. For example, if you just run Sentinel and you're not running a Void weapon at all, you're going to struggle with all the Void shields. Okay? It's going to take you a bit. So make sure you're matching to those two. Arc doesn't matter. There is arc shields, but you don't deal with them. In this run will be platinum, and you don't need to deal with any of the champs. My code Duello has Lasting Impression on and Field Prep. Lasting Impression is a new rocket launcher perk that is like a detonation charge. It's kind of like the cannons that we used on Wrath of the Machine, etc. And the cannons are in this game as well. So it's kind of like that perk, but you're not charging the rocket. It charges itself and then detonates. Okay. Now I'm not saying that roll there is the best roll. I'm just saying this is what I used. Whatever your best roll is of a solo variant, then use it. Same with the Voids. Any Void hand cannon that's good to you, use it. I'm using the Void Ikelos because it generates War Mind cells. This is the only reason. If you want to use a Void Unstoppable Pulse, then use it. As for armor mods, we're using a Cell build / High Energy Fire Shield Break Charge. We're going High Energy Fire Shield Break Charge because there's a lot of shields, so we can get a 20% damage buff up quite a lot. We can also generate cells via our hand cannon, and Wrath of Rasputin will enable our code Duello to create cells as well with the solar splash damage. Of course, put a boss spec in your rocket launcher as well. Other perk that we had on was a perk called Sundering Glaze, which debuffs enemies on rapid precision hits. This goes very paired nicely with the new exotic scout rifle, because the new exotic scout rifle is all about rapid precision hits. So you get more damage, more reload speed. You also can debuff a champion with it or any enemy, but it works great on tanky enemies, which champions are. So this weapon is very, very good for anti-barriers. So that's why we're using it. You can use a sniper rifle, whatever you want. I'm just using this new gun because it's, you know, it's a new thing that everyone's excited about. So that's the setup. On with the run. So with the run itself, we'll explain each part and why we do it, as always. So with the first bit, we're going to use a pulse just to sort of tag any enemies we can, and to get the attention of the Unstoppable right away. With this rocket launcher and with our power level of stuff, we can almost one-shot the Unstoppable with this rocket. But if you're 1300 power, you'll do the same damage anyways. Okay, you can't over level the champions in terms of damage. So if you're 1300 power, the loadout that I've got on, you'll be doing the exact same damage that way. If you're lower than that, then that's fine. It's going to be a little bit different, you know. But this loadout would still work that way because it's very ammo efficient, as you're only using one rocket max on a champ, and your primary can take out a champion solo, which is very good. So it's pretty easy to deal with that first, but as I said, this rocket launcher can generate war mine cells via the Wrath of Rasputin, and that'll work with any sort of solar splash damage that you can think of in the game. Once we get our quick scan, we'll go to the outside area. The first thing you want to do, because even though it is only legend, solar splash, solar incoming damage and aerial is on, so you can get melted by adds, despite if you're overleveled. So you want to take out the Thresher first, which will one-shot with this rocket. If you had a cluster solar rocket, that would also probably one-shot. But main thing is getting that Thresher down as quickly as you can. Once you've done that, you're then in a good position to deal with all the adds. So there's a couple of phalanxes, a couple of orange bar majors that tend to push you, and then a bunch of red bar adds in the middle. So you want to focus the adds that, of course, are pushing you first. Get any snipers while you can. They peek in and out of cover. It's just something they do. If you want to stop them from peeking so much, try not to aim down sights so much, as the adds will take more cover the more you ADS. But if you're due to the timing of it, if you're used to the timing of adds in and out, you can still ADS and get them. But that is an actual mechanic. That's just, this is more of a problem with Hive than it is any other enemy race, to be honest. So now we can move to this location here. It's a good spot to take out. There's two snipers to the left if you haven't already. And the adds sort of group up in a nice location for you to just scout them down. Pretty easy to take these adds, as I said. Not a difficult run this. There's no mods really hindering us. There's no togetherness, no attrition, etc. But this video isn't that type of run where it's me trying to do my best, so to speak. It's more, this is how someone would just come in and do this run, so to speak. So when the relic spawns in, if you have got a couple of adds alive, you can leave them up if you want. They're not required. We're not getting the 100k on this run. Okay, I don't end up getting the 100k because I'm just focusing on the platinum rank and trying to do it pretty quickish. Okay, not messing around too much. We're going to pick up the relic and we're going to do a slam on that champion right there. Now, if you haven't got the chest plate, you're not going to one-shot the champion like that. So, if you haven't got the chest plate, then you're going to be wanting to use your weapons in that case. Which you'll see me plenty of times taking the champions out with weapons, so you'll have that for reference to know how to deal with them. As I said, you can use this exotic scout and take the anti-barriers with no heavy at all. Or you can use the heavy, wait for the shield break, etc. Now there's going to be a solar shield here, so you want to use your rocket for that, of course. And then we can get the slam. You can use the relic. The solar relic actually does solar damage. You can rip down the solar shield that way as well if you wanted to do that. That's also a good way. Once you get the slam, you want to come to this location here, as there's going to be an unstoppable coming out round the corner and a couple of adds. We have a cell there, so we shot that, which took out the major with the alongside the unstoppable. That way we've isolated the unstoppable on his own, so we can get a stun. Oh, there was an add to my left, or felt like it. I was getting fired from somewhere. We'll get a second stun here because we need to retreat. Whatever was hitting us, I'm not sure whether it was a Cabal ship or something, or an ad that's alive somewhere, but wasn't 100%, but that's why I retreated. Also, I remembered that there was some heavy. If you ever get a brick on the floor like that, save it if you can, and then when you're done with that encounter, go and get the heavy, because then you're going to the next section with maximum heavy from that section, rather than picking up the brick when you've, say, got 8, because I know with my rocket launcher, it can take 4. I get 4 rockets from 1 brick, because field prep and because rocket launcher scavenger. So field prep does 2 things. It gives increased reload when crouching, and it gives you increased reserves. I think it affects scavenger as well. If I remember right, I'm sure it adds an extra rocket. So you're meant to get 2. The field prep adds an extra 1, and then the rocket launcher scavenger adds an extra 1, so it's 4 in total. That's how it used to work anyways, so don't quote me on it, but I think that's what's happening with that. So with this bridge section, you want to skip all the ads. The only ad that you are killing is the champion, of course, because it's getting platinum. So this is the best location to do it. Now you can either use a rocket if you wish, or just use your scout. I ended up using the Dead Man's Tail, just showing it off with the Sundering Glare mod, and just sort of showing that debuff. Now, what will happen is, you can't see it right there because the champions are far distance away, but when the Sundering Glare perk activates, what the thing is, it won't come on the left hand side of your screen to say it's activated, so to speak. There'll be like a reddy black glow, a little glow above the enemy's head to indicate that that enemy is disorientated. Just like you would smoke an enemy or tractor cannon or anything like that, it's the same effect. It's debuffing the enemy. Obviously the percentages are different, but that's how you know it's working. You'll see it more clearly on an ad that's coming up, which I'll point out. So with the tank room, you want to stay back at first, as all the ads sort of group up nicely, so you can concentrate them, because you've got to deal with them at some point, so you may as well deal with them at the start. We use our hand cannon. We could have used, as I said, a void. If you want to use a void pulse, by all means, but I just feel as though the hand cannon pairs nicely with a scout rather than an awkward. It just feels a little awkward, a scout and a pulse slowed out, even though the scout's probably better, likes of this room. Just I wanted to use a hand cannon and then a scout instead. The scout, the Dead Man's Tail, will wreck tanks as well, because they're just big with their crit spots and whatnot, and the Sundering Glare. You can use a rocket here and there as well. Try not to spam too many rockets. You should be on, a champion, 1 rocket max, a tank, 1 or 2 rockets max. Depending on what your ammo drops are. I've got rocket launcher ammo finder on, which assists with, the ammo, but it's not guaranteed, okay? There's no spoils of war this season to get your ammo back. That way, you need to use the iron gloves, okay? So it's not the same as what it was last season in terms of heavy and stuff. This is a good angle to take a lot of the void shields and any remaining Cabal enemies down. Also, there's a solar shield there, so we wanted to hip fire shot that. Just makes it more consistent. Again, come down to that ADS thing, which is even more prominent with rockets. If you ADS an ad and your rocket launcher doesn't have tracking, the ad, especially certain ads, are just like knights or any sort of Cabal, like any sort of ads, they're just prone to either teleport out of the rocket or jump out of the rocket, because that's part of the AI. But hip firing the rocket will stop this mechanic, or less likely to. Okay, but at the same time, if you're close to that target with the rocket, you're going to hit the name down sights. It just helps to sort of not waste ammo and miss rockets, because that's the main thing with it. So when you get all ads down, you can use the super to finish your champion off. Just deals with them quickly. You don't want to be using a super on the tank, because if you kill the tank, because you're in mid-air, when the tank dies or goes down, they release a solar explosion type field. Now, because you're in mid-air, that can get you one shot, very weak. So it's not worth to be using a super on the tank. You're better off using your super on the champions. It's worth it, because your scout rifle can wreck the tank, the rocket can wreck the tank. So all you're doing there is saving ammo and just using your super on the champs instead. You have 2 unstoppables here. Now, I don't expect with this loadout to be melting both champions from that location, so you want to back up at that point. Now, I'm specifically going to a certain part on the maps where the tank cannot hit me. That's a big deal, because the last thing you want to do is when you're doing sustained fire on a champion and the tank hits you, because you just sitting target. So what you need to do is come to a location like this, behind cover somewhere, so that you know that that tank can't hit you. Meaning you've isolated the champions away from the tank. That's the key with this. You're taking it away from the tank. Then when both champions are dealt with, you can then push back up. There will be a couple of phalanxes as well. 2 or 3, I believe, which they're easy dealt with. Of course, with the anti-barrier scout, you can shoot through their shield, or with any anti-barrier weapon for that matter. So it makes the phalanxes a little easier as well. So because we've got both the front 2 wheels of the tank sort of hides the back 2. And you can't get a good angle on them at times. I did get shot there from the tank, which I don't know if it was a direct hit or not, but the solar damage resistance, that was just showing you there, the solar damage resistance. If I didn't have solar damage resistance on, I would have died there. That was my fault from being out of position and getting caught by the tank, but that's just an example of where matching the resistance on the Nightfall helps out. So there's always one on, whether it be Arc, Void or Solar, but always try to match them, especially on Grandmasters or even Masters. It just enables more mistakes to happen, which will happen, and it just makes the run easier, okay, rather than having to restart it. We can do a slam there if you want, just to clear out any dogs. The only reason why is just for ammo. If you've got full ammo, skip the dogs. You don't need to, but I didn't. I was going in with 4 rockets, and for this, I would say you want 6 to 7 rockets after this room is done, and I'm only going with 4, so I better hope for some heavy. But you definitely do want, I would say, 6 or 7. If you've got the chest plate, definitely 6 or 7. If you haven't got the chest plate, then you want even more heavy then. And I will probably, thinking about it, of how the boss fight will go, a Sunbreaker would be really good to pop your super at the very end, or a Sentinel, Code of the Commander, something like that, or even a Bubble, which it'll be sound confusing right now, but you'll see with the strat. Now, since the game engine was reworked, a lot of things changed in strikes. Adds, not the same rotation. Strikes being fixed rotations, add spawns being fixed, although adds are teleporting again, which is a bit of a problem. Champions and everything, I don't know what's going on lately, but when Beyond Light came out, all the things got fixed. I don't know about PC, I'm not on about PC, I'm on about console specifically. Everything got fixed that way. But in doing so, they fixed a couple of things. Now I've been doing Arms Dealer for the longest time. Obviously all the Nightfalls, but Arms Dealer was out when Destiny 2 Year 1, 2017. So it's been out a long time, and I knew little things on how to manipulate the boss. You could obviously kill him in this room. That wouldn't make a bit of a difference because you go up top and have to kill him again. But upstairs, when you get to the boss arena, there's things you could do with that boss to manipulate him, to get him stuck onto certain locations, or even cheese him when he's in his shield with grenades. Certain grenades do it. All sorts of little things. And you can still do that, I believe, the grenade trick. But another trick was the chain trick. Now, for those that didn't know about that, you could spawn the boss in earlier by doing the chain trick, which meant that you would activate the lift and then jump back down. But that doesn't work as the same as it used to. The champions in this room, by the way, there's just one unstoppable, one overload, which, as I said, one unstoppable, one anti-barrier, sorry, which is really easy to deal with. But this, what I'm explaining now to you, is more important than the commentary on the champs. So with the chain trick, you used to be able to spawn the boss in earlier than he should. That doesn't work now, but there's a different way of doing it. So the old way was, you would activate this lift right now. I've activated the lift. You get a spawn of ads. You kill the ads. The old strat would be, don't touch the lift. Just, you've activated the lift, don't touch it. Go on the chain. That's changed now. That doesn't work the same way, because you've got to activate the lift for then the boss to come out, sort of thing. So it's not the same as what it used to be. So what you want to do is activate the lift, jump on the lift, because obviously you've got to activate it by jumping on it, then kill yourself. Now this will work on Legend or Master. It won't work on Grandmaster if it's solo, because you go to Orbit. But I'm not focusing on Grandmaster because it's not out yet. Kill yourself, either let the boss kill you or rocket yourself. I've got loads of rockets. Make sure you have 6-7 rockets, something like that. Spawn back in, activate the lift. The ads won't spawn in. The ads won't spawn in on the when you respawn up. Then the boss will just spawn up. He'll spawn in and he's there. So this is perfect for rockets. Be careful if you haven't got a track and rocket. But you can just use all your rockets from down here, which 10 rockets gets him nearly killed. If you had high energy fire on, like if I had, maybe he had taken charge on and then optimized a charge of light there, then I could kill him with rockets just from down here. But I didn't. But that's fine because we've got a super as well. So we'll use all our rockets from here. Do not step on the lift though. Once you step on the lift, it activates it. So do not step on it until you're ready to step on it and do more damage, i.e. to go up there. As you can see, the really good damage with this rocket. I'm not saying it's the best roll, but I do like field prep on rockets in general anyways. It's always good for me. And this new perk is very good as well. And then once you've done all your rockets, you can just activate the lift. It'll start going up. You can't see the health of the boss. Not until the lift's so far up. But obviously we've got a super. So we can use the super just to finish the boss. Now even a standard Thundercrash would have killed him there because he was so weak. But that will be how to easily one phase the boss. It is a boss exploit, but it's also a way of farming Palindrome solo on your own on the legend difficulty, and it's close to 1300 power, which most Guardians are at this point. They're closer to 1300 than they are 1330. So that was the run. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.